Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about why literally every person on the face of the earth needs to be strength training. And the reason I say that is that when we look at the leading causes of death in America, this is different globally, but in America, top of the list is cardiovascular disease, right? Cardiovascular disease, which actually kills a couple thousand Americans every single day. Every day. Cancer kills something like 1,500 Americans every single day. And I want those numbers to sink in. I mean, we're dealing with a crisis around the world as it is. And look at those statistics, right, of everyone panicking and freaking out over a virus that is killing significant numbers of people, but compare it to those numbers, right? That's what people should be terrified of. You should be terrified of heart disease and cancer. Come down to diabetes. Diabetes kills as many Americans every year, every day actually. Diabetes kills as many people every day as a virus that everyone is freaking out about. Diabetes kills as many people a day in America as the current pandemic that has shut down our entire country and the world. Every single day. You don't think these are serious? People aren't freaking out about these? Well, they should be. That is what is going to kill you. Statistically speaking, those three diseases are what is almost guaranteed to be your death personally. You out there. And I can say that as a statistic because it's going to be 80% of you are going to die from one of those three things. That is what will kill you. Those three diseases. One of those three. 80% chance. Everything else in the entire world added up is something like 20% chance, and that includes murder, everything. Medical malpractice, car accidents. Those are what kill people. Well, how are they affected by strength training? Do you guys look at the meta-analysis that was done a year or so back comparing cardio to weight training? You know what they found? That weight training actually reduced cardiovascular disease more than cardio does. In other words, your cardiovascular health, not necessarily your endurance, right? Your ability to run a marathon is not the same as your health. Talking about cardiovascular health, which means your ability to not have heart attacks and strokes. That's what we're concerned with. People who resistance trained versus people who took cardio very seriously still had lower incidence of heart disease in the long term. Okay, seems to be the best form of exercise you can do for cardiovascular disease. Cardio does help. Your diet helps a hell of a lot too. So let's not pretend it doesn't. But we also know that diet affects strength training, doesn't it? Just throwing that out there. Your ability to train really hard is impacted by your diet. Can be. Not always, but it can be. Ability to recover from training can be affected by your diet. So it all goes hand in hand to some extent. I'm not saying that is an absolute. There are obviously exceptions. Strength training. Better than cardio for fighting off heart disease. And it makes sense when you understand why. Because I've already done other videos discussing the bone density and sarcopenia and all this stuff, which are serious issues as you get older. Very serious issues. But we want to talk about these other health concerns, the stuff that drops people dead. The best defense you have against cardiovascular disease. Top of the list in terms of exercise. You combine that with good diet and other stuff, and you're really helping yourself a lot. And I care about that one. My mother died at age 48 of a heart attack. My mother, who incidentally didn't weight train, Didn't eat a good diet, in spite of the fact she thought she did. Smoked cigarettes, you know. I love her and miss her dearly. Same genes in my family. I have an aunt who competes at national level in powerlifting in her late 60s. Doesn't have these heart issues. Also used to do CrossFit. Now she just powerlifts. My mom's older sister. It matters. It matters a lot. Then we come over to cancers. What do statistics say on weight training and cancer? And I've cited this many times, and people say, where's the study? I don't link studies anymore. I linked this study like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. It's not that hard to find. I don't even have a link to it. But you could Google it and find it. There were data looking at resistance training just done years ago that noted that people who lift weights at least twice a week, right? Just people who lift weights, they don't even train that hard. You know, they get cancer at 50% of a lower rate of the general population. Half. Now go back over and look at cancer deaths. Cancer kills more people than this current virus. Way more people. Way more people. Not even in the same ballpark. Weight training reduces cancer rates by 50%. You know that muscle mass is actually protective against cancer? Well, there's a correlation there, obviously, then. There's a correlation there. Because obviously strength training builds muscle mass. Muscle mass is protective against cancer. But more importantly, weight training itself improves insulin sensitivity in the muscle tissue that you have. All right, we know that insulin resistance is an enormous factor in cancer. Obesity is an enormous factor in cancer. Not muscle weight, but the fat tissue itself. Because people who are morbidly obese oftentimes are not metabolically healthy. All right, you can be metabolically healthy and be obese, but you're the exception, not the norm. Right? There are some out there. They're usually athletes who carry extra body fat. The metabolically healthy obese are not so much as at risk, but obesity itself is massively linked to bad metabolic health, insulin sensitivity, fatty liver, all these things. All right? Well, that's linked with cancer. Cancer cells tend to be able to grow faster, and that's the reason. Insulin resistance generally seems to allow cancer cells to grow more quickly. So it makes sense. Also, what happens when people do get cancer who lift weights? People who continue to lift weights while going through cancer treatments concurrently with whatever various treatments they're going through survive at double the rate. So even if you do get cancer, if you continue to weight train, what happens? You have twice the chance of surviving. In other words, as some coaches are prone to say, strong people are harder to kill, and that includes from cancer. 50% lower rates, double the survival rate if you do get it. Do the math yourself on what that does for you. In other words, across the board, cuts down your chances of dying from cancer to 1/4 of what they would have been if you didn't lift weights. Basically what it does. Not going to guarantee to stop it, but it damn sure stacks the odds in your favor. Diabetes, our number 3 killer. Lifting weights. People who lift weights at all in any capacity get diabetes at 70% lower rate than people who don't lift weights. I didn't say you had to be a bodybuilder or a power lifter or an athlete. I simply said lifting weight. People who report that they lift weights in surveys. It can mean whatever the hell you want that to mean. 70% lower risk of diabetes. Now, when a bodybuilder gets it, it's because of the drugs that they use that cause them to become diabetic. We could extrapolate that data further and say that people who train harder probably have better than a 70% improvement, because that includes everyone who basically just works out. What does that mean? Well, we know that even if you go to the gym and just goof off, you reduce your diabetes chance by 70%. Even if you just goof off and don't even know how to train, which is most people who lift. this is miraculous. This is a cure for most of these diseases, the closest things, again, that we have in terms of lifestyle. The stuff that is killing us. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.